Hi everybody, I am Zehra and today I'm going to talk about chapter 6 of linguistics. And here is my part that I'm going to talk about in my presentation. Firstly, I'm going to talk about traditional semantics and structural semantics, semantic features, prototypes, basic semantic relationships, semantic anomaly, and cognitive approaches to meaning. I suppose you are all ready, then let's get started with types of semantics. It means the study of linguistic meaning. We can study meaning on a number of different levels. The first is lexical semantic, is the study of meaning properties of individual words in isolation. And sentence semantic is the study of meaning properties of a sentence, and discourse semantic is the study of meaning of extended discourse, spoken or written form. When it comes to traditional semantics, tends to be prescriptive and is often embodied in our attitudes towards dictionaries. Native speakers do not always agree on the meaning of words, even common words, and dictionaries cannot be expected to record individual variation in word meaning. For example, we can say your sister husband, or your husband's brother, or maybe your wife's brother. And when it comes to basic semantic relationship, we can divide it more parts. The first part is paraphrase. An utterance is a paraphrase of another when it has the same meaning as another. As Philip purchased an automobile is a paraphrase of Philip bought a car simply. Entailment or implication, an utterance entails another when the second is logically necessary consequences of the first. As Alan lives in Toronto entails Alan lives in. An inclusion and utterance encompasses another as I like fruit includes I like apple. But this relationship is unidirectional. I like apple does not include I like all fruit. And the other basic semantic relationship is contradiction. A statement or sequences of utterances is logically contradictory. He is an orphan contradicts his parents are living, or I was fatally ill last year is internally contradictory. And the other part is anomaly. An utterance has no meaning in the everyday world. It violates semantic rules. For example, he swallowed a dream. And lexical ambiguity, a word or phrase allows more than one meaning in context, as in an old friend, which may denote a friend who is aged or a friend whom one has known for a long time. Two different meanings of old. And when it comes to denotation or connotation, words have literal or referential meaning, denotation, but also evoke feeling, attitudes, or opinions is connotation. The following words whose denotation are similar if not identical carry different connotation, either good or bad. For example, soldier, warrior, insect, bug, illness, disease, ailment, and condition, relax, love, hound, dog, generous, extravagant, and wasteful. And when it comes to polysem, a word has more than one meaning out of the context. The meaning are related to one another. For example, court enclosed area, retinue of sovereign and judicial tribunal, and fire to burn or ignite to shoot a gun, or to discharge from one's employment. These are all mean fire. And homonym, two words sound and are written the same but are different in meaning. Bark one odor covering of wood, harsh sound uttered by a dog, and sound one noise, and sound two body of water. Meronym, a word denotes parts of whole. For example, as fender is to car, week is to month, and head is to body. And when it comes to presupposition, what is assumed beforehand by an utterance or what is taken for granted is said to be presupposed. Minimally, the existence of the thing or person told about is presupposed. For example, have another cup of tea addresses has already had a cup of tea. And the other example is, my teacher gave a boring lecture where the existence of teacher is presupposed. And when we come to structural semantics, one description of the meaning relationship of words in a language, Lins recognizes three major types of relationships: synonym, homonym, and oppositeness. Let's have a look at them. by. Synonym. The concept of synonym is of course well known and intuitively obvious. It denotes sameness in meaning or sense as with the words unhappy, sad, bright, right, huge, enormous, and casual, informal. And the other part is hyponym, is a relation of inclusion or entailment. Here is an example. For the set of terms red, scarlet, crimson, vermilion, pink, maroon, and so on, red is what Liz calls a superordinate term, and scarlet, etc., are what he calls coponym or hyponym. And our last part in structural semantics is oppositeness. This recognizes three different relationships. Let's have a look at them one by one. Complementary is a relation of contradiction in which the denial of one term is assertion of its complementary term. For example, single, married, male, female, dead, alive, pregnant, not pregnant. And the other one is anatomy, refers to gradable concept which may be explicitly or implicitly compared. For example, big, small, old, young, proper, improper, and high, low. Converseness denotes a kind of reversal. Verb expression, land, borrow, reverse action, disappear or exhale, inhale, expression of time and space, outside, inside. Kinship terms, husband, wife, brother, sister, professional, teacher, and students. And our other part is semantic features. Componential analysis is an attempt to give a semantic analysis of words in terms of semantic feature or components. There are some parts of semantic features. The first part is feature analysis of nouns. Nouns can be count, concrete, collective, as team, and non-count, abstract, non-collective. For example, truth, concrete, non-collective, peer, non-count, concrete, collective, police, and so on. The use of set of semantic features thus provides for a better means for analyzing nouns into subclasses and this allows for the cross-categorization of this type. And the other subpart is feature analysis of verbal predicates. The first is stative. This feature recognizes whether the situation denoted by the verb involves change, negative stative, or positive stative. It is said that negative stative situation requires the input of energy, whereas positive stative situation does not. And durative, this feature recognizes whether the situation goes on the time, positive durative, or occurs at a moment in time, negative durative. And the third one is delic. This feature recognizes whether the situation has an endpoint or goal which is necessary for the situation be what is telic, positive telic, or has no necessary conclusion, negative telic. And voluntary, this feature recognizes whether the situation is a matter of an agent's voluntary or willful action, positive voluntary intentional or negative voluntary. And other subpart is feature analysis of models. Another application of semantic feature is in the analysis of model meaning, which is most often expressed by the model auxiliaries and their phrasal equivalents. Here are some examples. Will or would, have to, often pronunciate have to. Can, could, have got to, often pronunciate have got to. Shall, should, ought, often pronunciate ought to. And might, need to, must, supposed to, often pronunciate supposed to, and be able to. And model meaning refers to a matter of possibility and necessity and can be analyzed using two features as epistemic and deontic. Epistemic meaning in which is a matter of belief, inference, and deduction such as potentiality, possibility, probability, prediction, or certainty. And deontic meaning is a matter of action such as permission, duty, responsibility, obligation, or comment. When it comes to prototypes, an alternative to feature analysis which is intended to have sociological validity is called prototype theory. It argues that we understand the meaning of a word because we have a prototypical concept of category to which the things belong. A prototype is a good, clear exemplar of a category. And the members core members would be those supports most closely resembling the prototype, such as rugby, football, basketball, volleyball, and whereas more peripheral members would include those which are not easily or quickly identified as support sport, including golf, table tennis, curling, and badminton. The concept of prototypes is related to what is called the basic level term. This is the level at which people normally conceptualize and name things. Thus, chair is a basic level term and occurs most frequently, while kitchen chair occurs on a lower level and furniture on a higher level. And we can divide it two parts, semantic anomaly, as selection restriction and figurative language. Let's have a look them deeply and explain them. Selection restriction, semantic anomaly follows from restriction on the compatibility or combinability of words. Not only does a word contain certain semantic features, but it may also require that words with which its co-occurs contain certain features. These are called selection restriction. For example, truth requires positive quad-rupt subject, like the horse, the money, the spider trotted on. Fly requires this positive winged subject. For example, the airplane, the bird, the god, flew north. And sing requires this human or positive winged subject. And when it comes to figurative language, to this point, we have been concerned with literal or normal uses of language because figurative uses of language routinely violate or break selection restriction. For example, literal and introduce affected me, metaphorical envy affected me, and animalist the rock affected me. And there are some types of figurative language. Let's have a look them. Oxymoron or paradox refers to expression which contain an explicit contradiction. For example, delicious torment, living death, sweet sorrow, silent scream, cold comfort, good grief, pleasing pain. Tautology refers to expression which are true by definition, offering no new information. For example, a gender is a male goose, an orphan is parentless child. Synthesia refers to expression which combine a word from one sensory domain with a word from another sensory domain. For example, cold response, sweet sound, cool reception, sharp rubber, fluid note, quiet color, and so on. And synodic refers to expression which refers to thing by naming part of it. For example, a new face or a new blood. Express a new person. Metonym refers to expression which denote a thing by naming something associated with it. The law associated with the police and the church is a relation with the religion. Personification refers to expression which attribute human qualities to non-human or inanimate object. For example, the idea grabbed me, the vending machine ate my money. And metaphor refers to expression which transfer a word from one conceptual domain to another. Here is a good example to understand the topic. There was a pregnant pause. He flew into a rage. The bad news shattered her. She was away a long time. When it comes to cognitive approach to meaning, a metaphor is essentially a device that involves conceptualizing one domain of experience in terms of another. For example, I won the argument. He retreated from his initial position. She buttressed her position with several examples. He shut down all my arguments. And source domains tend to relate to concrete and more immediate areas of human experience, whereas target domains are more abstract. Quite systematic mappings or correlation between conceptual domains underlie coherent set of structural metaphors. These coherent mappings permit us to interpret metaphors. For example, loss of consciousness is associated with being or going down, such as fall into coma. And metaphors based on unifying cognitive mappings. Ideas are object to be sensed. Building, the argument is shaky. Food, that notion is half-baked. People, he is the father of linguistics. Time is money. I have investigated a lot of time. I haven't enough time. We are running out of time. And that was my presentation. Thank you everyone for listening.